This demo will give a quick overview of the payment card processing standard business logic in an SAP ERP application. We'll start by creating a sales order, enter our sold to party, we'll put in a PO number that we can track, and a material with a quantity of 6. In SAP, you activate the payment card processing logic on a document type by document type basis, and doing so makes visible fields that are currently hidden in a standard system, in which you can capture a card type, a card number, an expiration date, or a security code. Rather than capturing that information on this screen, it is preferred that you would navigate to the header payment card screen, in which you can capture that same information as well as a cardholder name, and if necessary, enter more than one card. It's also in this screen that you'll be able to view the response from your banking partner. Now, I do have cards stored on file for the customer. You'll notice that the card number is not actually a raw card, it is a token from Paymetric, and the last 4 digits are visible. So I will use this MasterCard ending in 4442 by double clicking and then hitting enter on the keyboard. That will populate not only the card type and number, but the expiration date and the cardholder name as well. And then I'll enter a CVV value, or the 3-digit security code, on the back of this MasterCard. On the partner screen, let me point out that SAP will send the address of the payer partner with the authorization request. This will be used to compare the house number and the postal code with where the customer receives their monthly statement. Along with that response code and the CVV response code, there will be a response letting you know whether or not the funds are available, and you can see SAP is calculating, based on the schedule lines and the availability of stock, that everything is eligible to be shipped soon, and therefore SAP will request an authorization for the full amount. Now, I need to save the order to kick off that integration to the Paymetric services. I can't save in this screen, so I'm actually going to back out and hit save. And when I do, 2 messages related to the authorization interface being invoked will be shown at the bottom. The first will say authorization is being carried out. At that point, SAP sends all the details we've captured along with the amount out to Paymetric. We reformat it, send it on to the banking partner, Chase, Paymetric, Elevon, First Data, whomever you're using, and then they will forward it on to the issuing bank of the card. The response will come back into SAP within roughly 2 to 4 seconds, and the second message will be shown, which states response received from authorization. So let me hit save, authorization being carried out, response received, and we see that an order has been created. Now, that order will contain a new response line on the payment card header screen. You'll see that here. A green traffic light is SAP's way of indicating that this was an approval, and I could drill into this response line and see the approval code from the processor, the transaction ID that Paymetric has assigned to this transaction. I already know, based on configuration, which credit card receivable account this will post to when we invoice, and in turn the merchant ID that was determined for use. At the bottom, any additional descriptive text such as approved, stolen, declined, over limit, please call bank for a manual approval would be shown here in the text field. And then any response codes for the address check or the CVV check are also shown. At this point, with the approval on the sales order, I'm ready to go and create my delivery. And I can do that directly. When I create the delivery, SAP will refer back to the authorization on the sales order to check if it is still expired or unexpired, or if it's for sufficient amount. If both of those checks pass, then SAP will allow the creation of the delivery and allow you to pick, pack, and post goods. Once you have posted goods issue, then SAP does allow you to create a invoice. So we'll go directly into the invoice creation. I should point out that SAP does not copy any of the payment card details onto the delivery itself. It is merely referencing those authorizations that exist on the sales order. Now, when we create our invoice, SAP will perform the same check, ensure that there's sufficient authorization still on the sales order that's not yet expired, And this time SAP will copy the response details off of the header of the sales order onto the header of the accounting document. So we can see the same information here that was seen on the sales order with that green traffic light response. If I drill in, I'd see the same approval code, the same Paymetric transaction ID, the GL account, the merchant ID, the response text, etc. The only difference being, in addition to the authorized amount, SAP will also show the billing value. This indicates the amount of the authorization that will actually be sent to the processor and will show up as a charge on the customer's statement, or that will also then show up as a deposit in your account. Many reasons why the authorized amount and billing amounts can differ. A very common one would be a split shipment. Perhaps you authorize for 500, you're only able to ship 300. The amount to be actually submitted for the deposit request would be shown here in the billing value. Now the final step is to have a look at the accounting document and then run the settlement process. In my system, if this were a payment terms relevant order, you would only see the first 3 lines, but because the instant you place a credit card on a sales order, the terms are irrelevant and it becomes a credit card guaranteed order, you'll see 2 additional line items. And you'll see 1 or 2 additional items for every authorization that is used to post that invoice to accounting. In our scenario, we had a single authorization for the full amount of the order. So we see that not only do we have an offset to the customer and then revenue and tax accounts, but SAP has immediately cleared the liability from our customer's account and shifted that into a Visa MasterCard receivable account. In effect, you've not received cash yet, but it's not the customer that will be remitting payment, it's the issuing bank of that customer's card. So this remains a liability in the system, but SAP has immediately cleared that liability from the customer. The last step in the order to cash process is to execute the settlement program. It's transaction FCC1 and uses that credit card receivable account that we just looked at. Now I'm going to go ahead and execute this, and what will happen is SAP will pick up any transactions that have been posted to that account in the last 24 hours since it was executed. So I can see that not only did I have the transaction we've just created, but staged 12 others. So my daily activity may be for 13 items, just under $2,100 US. There is another clearing document posted that we'll look at in a moment, and SAP has assigned batch number 188 to all of these transactions, and I can view each of the individual transactions here. You'll notice not only do we have the debits that we've been processing, but there's credits as well. The workflow for processing a credit in SAP is essentially identical to processing a debit. When you begin creating a return or a credit memo request type document, you would place the credit card on that document. At save of that document, it would be sent out to Paymetric and returned with a dummy approved for credit response. It is not sent to the clearinghouse yet. That then allows the delivery, if one is needed, or billing to be completed, and for that transaction to be included in the next settlement job, as you see here. At that point, once it's submitted for settlement, it does show up as a credit on the customer's account and will show up as a credit pulled from your next deposit. So we've now submitted these transactions. Let's have a look at the clearing document that SAP posted. And you'll notice that the funds have been pulled out of our Visa MasterCard account and placed into a bank cash clearing account or a pre-cash settlement account. Effectively, what SAP has done is zeroed out the balance of our Visa MasterCard clearing account and shifted that in a single lump sum item to this bank cash clearing account. This reflects the full 24 hours of activity that has been posted into your credit card receivable account and is the lump sum that you should expect to receive in a deposit within 24 to 72 hours. The last remaining step is a manual step, and that is a manual journal entry to clear this open item and then debit cash. Depending on when you are assessed your interchange fees, whether that's per deposit or on a monthly basis, and that will vary by card type, you would also at some point credit cash and debit an interchange processing fees account. That is the full flow of a standard SAP order to cash process where a credit card is entered on a sales order. When saved, SAP invokes the authorization. interface, and we'll send those details out to Paymetric to be forwarded on to a processor for verification of whether or not funds are available on the card. If an approval is received, a delivery and an invoice may be created. That invoice is posted to accounting with a credit card, picked up in the next settlement run, and you would see the result as you see here that the funds are requested for deposit, and all that's left in the system is a single open item. The customer liability was cleared when the invoice was posted to accounting. The credit card receivable account was cleared when we ran the settlement process. Reconciliation now is down to a single open item. And that concludes the standard SAP order to cash payment card processing functionality demo.